DNA mutations.
Mutations are changes in the DNA sequence.
Mutations. DNA getting messed up, leading to all sorts of problems. Or to something wonderful, perhaps.
All right, mutations. Let's talk about it. Remember our 4 bases in the DNA strand, A, T, C, and G? Well, a mutation occurs when one of these letters gets changed to another letter.
Before we go on, let's take a second to get something straight. The truth is, it's more correct to say that a mutation occurs from a changed nucleotide rather than a changed base. Remember that a nucleotide is simply a unit of DNA or RNA that includes a base, along with a sugar and phosphate group that form the backbone of DNA. Don't worry about these specifics too much right now, just be aware of them.
You may be wondering, how does this happen?
Well, mutations are caused when one of the nitrogenous bases gets messed with.
Ouch! That can't be good.
So what's the effect of a little base change in the DNA?
Well, let's consult the central dogma. Remember, the central dogma is the process by which an original DNA code is transcribed into mRNA, which is then translated into protein.
Remember, each protein is made by a sequence or sentence of codons. Each codon, like a word made of 3 bases or letters, refers to a specific amino acid, and a protein is a sequence of amino acids. Here's a normal amino acid sequence. The first line shows the DNA sequence, and the next line shows the transcribed RNA. The third line is the amino acid sequence resulting from translation of the RNA. Normal, normal, normal. Now, let's see what happens when the DNA gets mutated. Now, let's say this cytosine here, C, gets changed to an adenine, A. Considering how precise those bases are about who they get paired up with, you know, A with U and C with G, this could get interesting. Let's see what effect this has on the protein. First, watch what happens in transcription. In this case, the imposter A gets transcribed into a U. So, our mRNA codon becomes UCU, which translates to serine, not alanine. This type of mutation is called a missense mutation, because in that mutant codon, there is a mistake protein being translated. So a missense mutation is when just one base has been changed, resulting in a codon for a different amino acid. Well, at least the codon is referring to an amino acid, so it still makes sense. It's just the wrong amino acid.
Like if I said the sky is purple. That would be wrong, but it would still be a complete sentence, and purple is still a color. It's just the wrong information.
Missense mutations can be the cause for certain diseases, such as sickle cell disease.
There's another type of mutation, a nonsense mutation. This is when the codon for the amino acid gets changed into a stop codon, which causes the translation to get stopped before it's been completed. Like if I said, the sky is, and then just stopped. That makes no sense. Get it? Nonsense mutations can cause genetic disorders.
A terrible, terrible situation. How long have I been saying? Grammar, 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 punctuation, proper spelling. How else do you expect to communicate properly in this world? What are we talking about?
Now let's look at another type of mutation. This one, called a frame shift mutation, gets pretty messy. Watch this. Say we insert an extra thymine in the DNA here. What effect will this have on the outcome of the translation process?
Well, all of the codons are always groups of 3 nucleotides each, right? When you throw in an extra nucleotide or letter, it's going to get grouped into a triplet, pushing one of the letters from that triplet into the next, pushing one of the letters from that triplet into the next, and so on, jumbling up all the triplets.
Say I had the sentence, "Fat cat ate mud," and for some reason, I had a computer that only allowed 3 letters per word. If I added an S to the end of fat, the sentence wouldn't just read, "Fats cats ate mud." Instead, the computer would focus on having 3-letter words and changing it to fat, ska, tat, emu, d. Complete gibberish. You can see how disastrous frame shift mutations can be.
They can also occur when a nucleotide gets deleted, and things end up getting just as confused, leading to missense and nonsense translations all across the board.
One example of a disease caused by a frame shift mutation is Tay-Sachs.
Finally, we have something called a synonymous substitution. This is sometimes called a silent mutation because although a base in the DNA gets changed, this change has no effect on the final protein.
Think about it. Remember how there are multiple codons that translate to the same amino acid? You could say they're like synonyms, two different words that have the same definition. So, when a mutation causes for a synonymous codon, it translates to the same amino acid as it would have in the first place. So, these synonymous codons are sort of like a built-in safeguard against the disastrous effects of mutation. Neat!
That's all for now, folks. Beware of mutant DNA. Ha 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 ha.